It's not being deported and dropped off. I think what he has raised is the idea that we'll house some prisoners in a prison in another country. Now, I have no idea whether this is legal or constitutional.
It's not legal or constitutional.
And I'm sure that'll be debated out. And if it's not, then it won't happen. But what he is saying is if you have extremely violent populations that need to be housed in a prison somewhere, what's the difference between housing them in a prison here or there, other than the debate, I guess, over the legality of it? But that's what he has been raising.
All right, guys, during a recent rally, Donald Trump has suggested that violent criminals here in America should be sent to prisons in other countries, especially those with harsher conditions, as a way to lower costs and serve as a deterrent. He reportedly said something along the lines of, why should we pay $60,000 a year to house criminals when we can send them to other countries for a fraction of the cost? Let's get into it.
Of the alligator Alcatraz of it all, Trump's comments today were really stunning, honestly. American citizens, he's talking about people who were born here and threatening to, put them in a deportation facility, deport them, take away their citizenship. What are we talking about here?
I mean, he even talked, I think, when he was with the El Salvadorian president about needing more prisons there for things like this. I mean, it's beyond, if you were to make a list of outrageous things Donald Trump was going to do, I don't think this would even have made it on the list. It is so just crazy. But the thing is that crazy things that Donald Trump says come to fruition. He will just do whatever he thinks. And now that this is in his mind, it's truly frightening that he might actually move forward and try to make a penalty for a crime being deportation for people who were born in this country.
Well, it's not being deported and dropped off. I think what he has raised is the idea that we'll house some prisoners in a prison in another country. Now, I have no idea whether this is legal or constitutional.
It's not legal or constitutional.
And I'm sure that'll be debated out. And if it's not, then it won't happen. But what he is saying is if you have extremely violent populations that need to be housed in a prison somewhere, what's the difference between housing them in a prison here or there, other than the debate, I guess, over the legality of it? But that's what he has been raising.
All right, guys, you're watching On Air with Nick Java podcast here on YouTube. Please like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and you'll be notified of all my upcoming video releases. All right, guys, Trump is basically framing this entire idea, which we're going to have to see how this ends up going, as a tough on crime type situation. It's clearly designed to stir debate and appeal to voters that are tired of what they see as cushy prison systems. Critics say it's unconstitutional, inhumane, and violates due process and international law. However, Trump is not talking about deporting someone, so to speak. You are talking about violent criminals in this situation. Would this be the most hardcore, tough on crime political stance ever? Absolutely. You know, and what countries you guys feel like would even accept this? You know, I'm betting El Salvador would. Let's keep it going.
It's a pesky little thing called the law.
And
I mean,
I don't think
what authority would a president of the United States be able to deport American citizens to the jurisdiction of a foreign country, even for committing crimes?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the legality of it is. I don't know if the Department of Justice has issued a memo on it. Just for the purposes of this conversation tonight, what his point was, if you have extremely violent populations that need to be warehoused in a prison, he raised the idea of putting them in a prison.
We deal with extremely violent populations just fine.
I just think that I don't think you can I don't think you can avoid what alligator Alcatraz is. I mean, I don't think you can just turn a blind eye to it. I think it's anti-American. I think the fact that you're going to have individuals and populations in there that are stacked on top of each other, many of whom without due process. And let me just also say this before it runs on clips throughout social media, is that I don't think there's going to be any Democrat in this country, including myself or you, Christine, who says that if you have committed a violent crime or any crime whatsoever, you shouldn't be deported. We're not saying that. You should be. However, the fact that Donald Trump this morning said you should learn how to swim sideways. I mean, there are certain things about this country and the virtues of it. And the reason that Donald Trump and others are able to build alligator Alcatraz is because of the simple fact that you don't give people the benefit of their humanity. I also think that, look, if we want to have a conversation about who belongs where, when, how, and whether or not their citizenship status, and we want to look at everything. I mean, I would look at Donald Trump Jr. I mean, I would look at all of Melania's kids, all of Ivanya's kids. I mean, let's just have a full conversation over who belongs here. How do they get here? Their citizenship status. Let's just have a full discussion about all of it. Why is that not on the table right now? I mean, the only person here it should be Tiffany Trump if we're going to have this discussion.
Can I ask you, Pete, to respond to what Bakario said about the humanity of it all? The idea that because you're an undocumented immigrant, we don't know who they're going to put there. We already know that a lot of the people that they're detaining don't have criminal records. Where is the humanity? And what place does it have in this conversation?
We'll have to see how many people actually end up there. I think part of this facility is to try and incentivize those who are here illegally to self-deport, to say, hey, you don't want to be here. You don't want to go to Alligator Alcatraz. So you should probably just leave the United States of your own accord.
All right, guys, it always trips me up regarding how much the Democrats actually care about convicted criminals. It's pretty crazy to me that they are constantly in this entire mentality of, well, we have to take care of the criminals. We have to the criminals. Okay, look, first off, where is that love for the people that are actually victims when it comes to these people's violent acts? There's been so many American citizens that have been deleted by violent, illegal immigrants. And you never hear Democrats talk about, well, we need to get these people out of here. They want to bring them back. Look at Abrego Garcia. The Democrats flew out to El Salvador to pick up a known MS-13 member, committed domestic violence against his wife or his girlfriend. It's noted. There's court documents supporting this stuff. I don't agree with Cardi Sellers and the idea of this is un-American. What this is anti-progressive left. They want everybody that is a criminal to be in these cushy prisons and us, the taxpayer, having to pay for all these things. Now, if you're a criminal and you commit said crime that is violent, like a murder case or something like that, then guess what? Your rights are, you no longer have rights that American citizens have. And if they want to ship you off to another country to sit in a prison while you serve out your sentence, I see no issues wrong with that. Now, I will say it's probably not legal to do that, but I have no issue with it. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. I'm here to say, hey, the American citizens that are actually acting right and are actually carrying on throughout their day, being productive citizens throughout our culture and our society, should not have to worry about these violent criminals coming up, deleting people, stealing from them, breaking and entering in their houses, stealing their vehicles, beating their friends, families to death. It's just all ridiculous, man. We got one more section here. Let's get to it.
The DOJ memo is very interesting, going back to talking about legalities.
About denaturalizing
we can
citizens.
denaturalize citizens. That is a law on the books. So the DOJ is looking to prioritize the enforcement of America's existing laws. There was an instance just earlier this year where somebody had their citizenship revoked, I can't even say the word. It happened because they were convicted of distributing child abuse materials.
Yeah,
it's something that can happen.
It is something that can happen, but it's something that is relatively rare and is usually reserved for things like what you're describing there. But one of the things that's interesting about that memo is that it says, in addition to heinous crimes, right? I'm not sure there's a lot of dispute about the code and what it says about crimes being a case for denaturalization. But it also says cases referred by a U.S. Attorney's Office in connection with pending criminal charges if those charges do not fit within one of the other priorities. So that's basically any crime. Maybe you're caught with marijuana. Maybe you're caught with marijuana. That's any crime. The number 10. Any other cases referred to the civil division that the division determines to be sufficiently important to pursue. So I think when people look at this, they look at this as a carte blanche.
Yeah, it's totally subjective.
To just say, Zohran Mamdani, you're a naturalized citizen. You're a high priority for us. We'll take it away.
Right.
What are the guardrails here?
And you just said it's a little loosey-goosey. This is not a good thing to be loosey-goosey with. Denaturalizing people, sending them to jails in El Salvador. I mean, you cannot, by definition, if there was one thing you wanted to have tightened up, it would be this. And you say the courts. So are people then going to be waiting in El Salvador on their knees bent over while we're waiting for the courts to decide whether that American citizen should have been taken out of this country?
I don't know, but I do know this,
That's not okay.
that you jump to the worst possible conclusion with nearly everything that Donald Trump says or does, including enforcing the laws of this
he
country.
said to the
It's facts. That's facts, man. All right, guys, there you go. You heard that. So there's that. Guys, please comment below. Let me know what you think about this. When it comes to this particular topic, you know, I don't know. You know, of course, we would want to operate within the laws of America. When it comes to alligator Alcatraz, the entire time I've been hearing them talk about this, Donald Trump's very good at taking something that is nothing and turn it into something that's a big issue. Like, for example, the gold card. When we covered that, that's an amazing idea. It's something that we were able to just pull. He was able to pull up out of thin air for our country to actually pocket and also have people come into the country that are more productive citizens within our society. Alligator Alcatraz has got a lot of theater to it. It's actually supposed to be looking at as a deterrent to actually get illegals to actually go ahead and leave. The Trump administration is also offering illegals $1,000 to actually leave the country at this moment in time. If they will leave the country, they're offering them $1,000 to go ahead and self-deport. And then they will be brought back through the actual vetting process of the United States of America. And what do you think about Donald Trump's prison reform idea here for sending criminals, violent criminals, to other countries to sit in these prisons so we can save money on actual taxpayers paying for these people to sit away in our American jails? Guys, you're watching Nick Driver Podcast here on YouTube. Let me know what you think. I'm always up to hear you guys' conversations, and having these debates is always an integral part of our country, or actually try to find some common ground. Hope you guys have a blessed day. Take care. One love, guys.